Good evening and welcome to the 31st annual Aish Kodesh dinner. As our minds and our hearts continue to be on Eretz Yisrael, I'd like to start our program tonight by saying a few kapitlach of Tehillim. We'd like to invite Moshe Bodner up here to lead us in Tehillim. Moshe, of course, familiar to all of us for all the work that he's doing on behalf of our brothers and sisters in Israel. You'll find some Tehillim cards on your tables, and please join us in Tehillim.
Shalom alos, esa einay al harim me'ayin yavo Ezri. Ezri meyim Adonai, osei shamayim v'aretz. Al yitain lamot raglecha, al yanum shomrecha. Hine lo yanum v'lo yishan, shomer Yisrael. Adonai shomerecha, Adonai tzilcha al yad yaminecha. Yomam hashemesh lo yakeka, v'yareach b'layla. Adonai yishmorcha mikol ra, yishmor es nafshecha. Adonai yishmor tzischa uvoecha, me'ata v'ad olam. Shir hamalos, mimam hakem karasicha Adonai. Adonai shem'a b'koli, tihiyeno aznecha kashuvos l'kol tachanunai. Im avonos tishmar ya, Adonai mi ya'amod. Ki imcha haslicha l'ma'an tivarei. Ki visi Adonai kivsa nafshi, v'lidvaro hochalti. Nafshi l'Adonai mishamrim laboker, shomerim laboker. Yachel Yisrael el Adonai, ki em Adonai hachesed v'harbei mofidus. V'hu yifteh es Yisrael mikol avonosav. Achenu kol beis Yisrael mitzvah mitzarav v'shivyav nememim v'basha hamakom yirachem alehem yotziim Yisrael v'varachat v'yafela lo ra mishibu l'gula hashtav v'agolav v'zman kariv v'nomar amen.
Thank you, Zali, for the beautiful cards on the table. Good evening once again and welcome to the 31st annual dinner. Our theme tonight is Al Tira. Don't be afraid. It's a message of Rebbe that's been echoing over these years, really beginning since COVID and all the more timely and powerful today. When the dinner committee met a few months ago and we spoke about a theme, someone suggested the connection of 31 and Al Tira, Al 31. And we immediately looked at each other and we knew right away this was the exact sentiment of all of us, of our Kehila, and of Klal Yisrael as a whole. Close to 25 years ago, when I was in Shar Yashuv and I was single, I was back from a few years in Israel. At the time, Shar Yashuv had a tape library upstairs in the building. You could sign out a shiur, and this was on a cassette, and we had the biggest speakers of those days, and all of us who were dating, and we were driving to Brooklyn and to Manhattan, Queens, definitely not New Jersey, because we're not paying for tolls in Shar Yashuv. We would take out these Torah tapes, and we'd listen to them. And if there was something really good on one of the tapes, you'd rewind it right to that spot, and we'd pass it off to the other guy. It was before WhatsApp, before viral. And you'd say, take a listen on that Torah tape at that exact spot. You got to hear what was said. One of the collections that was very popular back then was those of Rebbe's. There was the series on names and Rav Tzadok and many others. And there was one tape that was viral back then, and it was rewound back to the spot that everyone wanted to hear, and it was, "You got to hear this." I don't remember exactly which year it was, but it was something to the effect of the following. Rebbe said, you grow in your learning, in your Yiras Shamayim, in your Avoda, and then you go to college that night, and you sit down in front of your professor, and you raise your hand, and you say something spiritually oriented. And your professor looks over his glasses and says, "You seriously believe that stuff?" And just like that, everything goes up in smoke. Nowadays, I don't know if it would be viral. Rebbe has to talk about Santa Claus today to be on WhatsApp. But back then, it was something revolutionary. It was something that was not being said. It was the message of believing in ourselves, not to be afraid, al tira. It was the message back then, and it's the message again today. Last year, we stood here, we recognized 30 years of Aish Kodesh, and we embarked on the journey of the next 30 years. So tonight, as we celebrate our 31st year, in many ways, it's the first year of the new chapter of Aish Kodesh. This year, we have 4 honorees, and we broke the rules. We have 2 guests of honor. And in truth, it's a shul that is really made up of all honorees. The incredible acts of kindness, those that are known, those that are not known. Tonight is just a small sampling of 4 couples who embody everything that Rebbe and the Rebbitzin have been imparting on all of us for 31 years. Before I begin the program tonight and show you an amazing video, I want to take a moment to thank all those that helped so much the last few days and the last few weeks, making this a very successful initiative for the shul, and of course, a beautiful event to attend. If you haven't met the shul secretary yet, you won't. We don't have one. We have a lot of volunteers who do everything possible to help our shul. I probably have 30, 40 chats just of Aish Kodesh, of committees and volunteer groups, everything centered around how they could help and be a part of the shul. This dinner is no different, and there were a lot of people that were involved. I want to start by thanking our fundraising committee. Not only did we reach our goal to help the shul, but we far surpassed it this year. I want to thank Aaron Greenblatt, Eitan Agbishoff, Eitan Magenzo, Jason Goldstaff, Jeff Stern, Moshe Rosenbaum, Sam Gross, and Scott Stone. I want to thank the Rebbitzin and Meira for their help in planning this event. Thank you to Rebecca Rosenbaum and Shashi Schmuckler for their help as well. And I want to express my dearest and deepest thanks to the dinner committee. They put in a ton of work behind this. It's not exaggeration to say these guys are the best of the best, a real dream team. I want to thank Jeff Zoldan, Dov Percal, Jay Gelman, Jeremy Fader, Menachem Lewin, Renan Fuchsbrumer, Yaakov Schmuckler, and Zali Ridholtz. I want to give a special recognition and a special thank you to our shul president, Howie Hershkovich. Aside from having an unbelievable tan, he not only leads from the top, but he gets into the trenches, and he's busy. He was here all day today, and we thank him on behalf of everybody for his support and for his inspiration in the shul. I want to thank a great video, which I'm sure you'll enjoy, and the hard work that went into it from Guy Orman. Aside from Guy's tremendous abilities in video making, he's also part of the Chevra. And I want to thank also Josh Weinberg, who helped to organize all the interviews, and it was a lot of work doing that. Thank you, Josh. Once again, I want to thank you for joining us here this evening. I hope you'll enjoy the program. Please enjoy the video.
You guys could get a bigger mic? Quick disclaimer, I will not be announcing the sponsorship of Rubenstein's Kiddush tonight, so keep that in mind. I've been asked to come up tonight and speak about my good friends, Talia and Elie. So I think it's important to tell a quick story. About 6 or 7 years ago, I was in shul. It was a Tuesday night, and we were in the social hall for one of Rav Yirmi's Tuesday night chaburim. And we had about 10 guys around the table. And as Rav Yirmi does, he said something beautiful, but there was something beneath, something a little bit more subtle, that I heard, and I felt mamash on fire from it. And you guys know how that feels. When you hear something and you experience something, you want to share that with somebody. So I inherently looked across the table, and who do I see? I see Elie Erreich doing this. I immediately knew that the two of us were going to be friends. We clicked like that, and Baruch Hashem, my wife Danielle and Talia have become friends. Our kids have become very close, and these are people that are dedicated. We heard in the video that they do things that are not necessarily shown. They're dedicated people to the shul, to the community, to their children's schools. Their home is open. I mean, quite literally, I don't think they've ever locked their front door, if you've ever experienced that. They bring people into their home. They allow you to experience Shabbosim, Malavamalkas, barbecues, maybe once or twice a l'chaim or two. It's okay. But they bring you into their immediate family. They bring you into their extended Erreich Hollander family. They transform their friends into your friends. In a real way, a lot of our good friends have come from them. They, again, open their home and they bring people in. I challenge everybody here tonight to look around the room, look at your respective tables, the people around you, see how many people you've opened up to, you've confided in, you've sought guidance from, you've shared good times, bad times, Shabbosim, Yom Tovim, and I would venture to say that some of the most important and most significant people in your life are literally in this room right now. I don't want to get emotional, but I think for a lot of people here, including myself and my family, Talia and Elie are those significant people to us. They've added such a tremendous value. We've had so much fun together. We've grown together. And I don't want to take up any more time. So I want to have you guys come up or come down and accept your award.
A week ago, Aaron Rosenthal asked me, "Are you ready for the presentation?" And my reply was, "We have a whole week, and you told me I'm speaking for only 2 minutes, not a minute longer. Should I really be so nervous a week in advance?" I thought I would wait until Shabbos, and the right pasuk would just pop and stare at me, the pasuk in the parsha that would perfectly describe the Honigs, and somehow would also tie to the dinner theme, Al Tira. But to my surprise, the pasuk arrived way before Shabbos. Right after Aaron Rosenthal scared me, the pasuk stared at me during that tefillah. Tom vayosher yitzaruni ki kiviticha. David HaMelech writes in Tehillim Chafei, "Perfect innocence and uprightness will guard me, for I hope to you." Anyone who knows the Honigs would agree that these two words perfectly describe them. Tom vayosher, perfect innocence and uprightness. Liat and Yishai have successfully raised a family, and we're all witness to the beautiful way they transmitted the midos of Tmimus and Yashrus to their children. One of the sdarim that Yishai attends is the 8 o'clock Bitachon Chabura with Morty Solomon and Sheldon Lerner. And that brings together the end of the pasuk, Ki kiviticha, for I hope to you. Hope, kivui, is a form of bitachon in Hashem. But one issue that bothered me about this beautiful pasuk is that David HaMelech is a true Baal Bitachon, and he says to Hashem that his midos of Tom v'Yosher will protect him. Why doesn't he say the midah of Bitachon in Hashem should ultimately protect me? So I looked at the entire kapitel and the context in which these words, Tom v'Yosher yitzeruni kiki v'ticha, are said. And I noticed that it's a wartime kapitel. David HaMelech mentions his enemies over and over in this kapitel and davens to Hashem for help. Here are a few psukim. Elokai b'cha batachti al yeltzu oivai li. Re'e oivai ki rabu v'sinat chamas seneuni. Shomra nafshi v'atzleni al evosh ki chasiti bach. I wonder if this is a hint to why David HaMelech resorts to the midos of Tom v'Yosher. The Malbim explains that this pasuk, David HaMelech asks in this pasuk, Hashem, I do not desire to be protected from my enemies through war and bravery, but just through my Tom v'Yosher. For my hope is only to you to save me. This is the ultimate reliance and bitachon in Hashem. Being tamim, being content with my share, with my chelek, and acting with yashrus. And if you wonder, how is it possible to be perfectly tamim v'yashar? And how can somebody say that about himself? The answer is, only a Baal Bitachon can attain this madrega of Tom v'Yosher. And this is the midah of our shul's late president, who was my mentor and my inspiration, Nahum Gordon Zatzal, who started and founded the shul with Tmimus v'Yosher. And this is also what drew us all to Aish Kodesh. We're led by a Rebbe who radiates Tom v'Yosher, a Rebbe who spread the light of bitachon in Hashem to battle our enemies. Going back to the Honigs, Yishai is one of the only people at Aish who actually says this pasuk twice a day. Tom v'Yosher itziruni ki giviticha, because it's only found in Nusach HaAri and Sfaradi Sidurim. And as Yishai ends this kapitel, we should all pray, Pedei Elokim et Yisrael mikol tzarotav, redeem Hashem, the nation of Israel, from all its troubles. It is an honor to call up Liat and Yishai Honig to accept the Nahum Gordon Zatzal Community Awards Service Center.
Deep breaths, everybody. It's Adar. Just want to start with that. Purim's coming up. Pre-gaming is an Inyan. I don't have a Grommen. That's called a trust fall. I figured, why talk to you about Andy when I could show you what we heard on the video, no matter how bad, how off-key you are. Right, Maish Pulaski? Andy's going to be your best friend. He's a Chazan's best friend, and he'll never let you fall. And it's incredible that he did not help at this time. I wanted to show you, and the one guy who didn't help me out was my best friend. Okay. I also figured I would like to feel that power trip that Jeremy gets to have when he starts a niggin when everybody else is ready to go home. Like, what's that like? Okay, it's also not so great, but I get it. We also know that Nigunim and Aish Kodesh do not take time off the clock. So officially now, Aaron, starts my 2 minutes. So why am I up here? Especially given the very nervous faces. Sarah, hold Lauren's hand. Or give her a Valium. Lauren, we're almost there. If you look around, if you look at my wife, she's a little nervous because the Rebbetzin told her, you must read what Shalom Yonah is going to say before he gets up there. Rebbetzin, fail. She did not. I did not let. Rebbe's getting nervous because Rebbe said, I said, Rebbe, I never did an intro for an award. I've spoken before, but not like this. What's the protocol? He says, whatever you feel. So I think Rebbe's thinking, how do I do that defend Shalom Yonah position again? Here we go. So why am I up here? Is it because everyone loves a short speaker? You have Elie Erreich. I ran this by him before. I'm not that mean. Is it because we wanted someone easy on the eyes? You got Menachem Levitz. That's a good-looking guy. Perhaps we're celebrating the 10-year ban finally being lifted on Shalom Yonah speaking at shul events. Perhaps it's my unique linguistic style and my ability to put a creative spin on words, like the word oddball, which means you're unique and special. That's what I meant 10 years ago. Or my ability to make up great gematrias, like Hanhala equals Haman, which also, by the way, no one let me finish 10 years ago, so I'm going to take the opportunity. It's like Mashiach and Nachash. They're opposites. They fight against each other. That's not really what I meant 10 years ago, but let's pretend. So the truth is, it is a little bit about the gematria, because the gematria of Mordechai Aryeh Lauber, as they spell it today, is 729. And the gematria of Aish Kodesh Gabai is 730. Because he didn't really want to do it. Sincerely, though, the reason why I'm up here representing my wife is we are the Laubers' closest friends. Closest friends. It said closest. At our Shabbos table, we talk about if we had to be deserted on an island, who were we spending that Shabbos? So who are we with? We always pick the Percals, to be honest. But second, Dove just gets things done. If you want, come on. And he's going to come with gadgets and stuff. He's going to be great. But second to that, it's the Laubers. And it's the Laubers, not because Andy will help in any way, shape, or form, other than we'll have a good time together, but because every grain of sand will be put in place by Lauren. Every grain of sand will be cleaned, and then when you step on it, she'll put it back to that place where it belongs, and we'll be very well fed. The truth is, we, the Weisses, and it's not just me and my wife, it's our children, it's my father and my mother and my siblings, the Laubers, their family, everybody involved, the Pfeffermans, the kids, all our kids together. We've been through a lot together. We've experienced a lot together. We've seen a lot together. And there's nobody truly that we love and respect more than our dearest and closest friends, Andy and Lauren. And it's my absolute tickled, sparkly pink to the core for Lauren pleasure to ask our friends, our family, Andy and Lauren, to come up and get the Guest of Honor Award.
While we all enjoy tonight's video, I just want to start by thanking a dear friend of mine and of the Aish Kodesh Chevra and sponsor of tonight's beautiful dinner, Big Productions and the phenomenal Giorman. We know the incredible joy and heart you put into this, and we are all so deeply grateful. So with all our love and appreciation, give it up, Giorman. On behalf of all the Chevra that Aaron thanked, and on behalf of the entire Kehillah, a tremendous Yasher Koach and thank you to Aaron. Once again, our extraordinary dinner chair. You just make everyone else's job so much easier. And no matter who's throwing what at you, you keep your cool and make sure we stay on track. And once again, you've pulled off a magnificent dinner. I see Rabbi Levin here tonight. I want to thank Rabbi Levin for coming. I just want to clarify that when we told you by the Siyum a few weeks ago that you have a lifetime membership, it wasn't meant to include a dinner. Just kidding. It's a huge chus to have you here. We love you. We miss you. Al Tira. We received the following email a couple weeks ago. Thank you, Rabbi Weinberger, and all the Chevra at Aish Kodesh for sharing the shiurim on YouTube and YU Torah. You reach more people than you probably realize. Since October 7th, these shiurim have given us tremendous chizuk and hope. With gratitude, Wendy Rosen-Lusk, Richmond, Virginia. Lo lefached klal. This theme has been running like electricity through the shul for years now. While it's particularly timely now, it didn't start on October 7th. Since a virus came out of Wuhan, China back in early 2020, Rebbe has implored us with this message and feeling of don't be afraid. It's not the way of a Yid, and it's not what Hashem wants from us. And that message has carried the whole world over. Since that time, we've received thousands of messages similar to the one I just read. I remember when Yaakov Schmuckler sent me the report after Tisha B'Av 2020, where over 30,000 people from 95 countries, states, and regions around the world, including 2 from Gibraltar and 1 from Bayern, Germany, logged in to hear of Weinberger's Torah. They were all and still are looking for authenticity, direction, and meaning, especially as the footsteps of Mashiach are so near. And 894 Woodmere Place is the address. Rebbe gives a shiur on a Stam Tuesday night, and there's 60 to 100 people in person. Meanwhile, by the next morning, there's 1,000, 2,000 who have seen it. And a week later, thousands more. Lag BaOmer this past year, groups flew in to join us here in the 5 towns from Atlanta, Elie, Toronto, Muncie, Teaneck, Bergenfield, and all over Bergen County. And multiple buses from Lakewood, all thirsting for Weinberger's Torah, to bottle up some of Rebbe's inspiration and chizuk and the energy we have here at Aish Kodesh, to bring back to their respective homes and communities. People stop me all the time. Recently at the airport here in JFK, two from guys there with their families, looking me over. Hey, you're from Woodmere, right? Uh-huh. Aish Kodesh? And before I could answer, they begin all excited. Yeah, we're from Cleveland, but we see you on the live streams all the time. You're that guy who's always bringing up something about tables and chairs while we're waiting for Rav Weinberger to come on. Okay, you got me. Well, Cleveland, here I am again. Tables and chairs, baby. Aish Kodesh. Warm and welcoming. User-friendly Aish Kodesh, where every seat is an aisle seat. Trademark Sam Gross. Speaking of the tables and chairs, David, I can't really see with these lights in my eyes, but it looks like you're really enjoying yourself tonight. All I'm saying is you're lucky it's me up here and not Pilevsky, Fader, or heaven forbid, Rabbi Nachmani. And that brings us to our final honorees of the night, David and Shoshana Lawrence. You know, we all see David on center stage as Gabbai, but what he does when nobody's looking is what's really remarkable. Everybody knows on a snowy or icy morning at 5 a.m., it's Menachem Lewin outside the shul shoveling and cleaning the sidewalk for the Chevra to start their day. What some might not know is that quietly sneaking in the side door right around then, even though he won't shovel or clean, is our very own beloved David Lawrence, supported by his Aish Shoshana, who, as we have already heard on the video, is holding down the fort, enabling him to do so. Dave, sorry for all the cameras that have been stalking you for the last 3 months, but the guys wanted proof. Plus, Elie Shoshana got a treasured photograph to frame. The truth is, Shoshana told me to make this all about him. Let's see how uncomfortable he gets. So here goes. Like our Rubenstein said, B'Shem Rebbe, David is 1 in a million. What he doesn't know was that on the other side of Rebbe, there's another Manda Amar who heard it as billion, with a B, 1 in a billion. So I would say Tzarachian, but Rebbe's here, so Rebbe could answer that. It was a million or billion? trillion. I knew Rebbe was going to say that. 1 in a trillion. Really, I think the reason that we have so much fun teasing David about the whole tables and chairs situation is because he's such a good skite. And according to Shoshana, so perfect. Even though, boy, did you get that tables and chairs thing wrong. So when we finally found a little blemish, we couldn't resist. Especially as one of DL's oldest friends here, going back to Torah Sema's cabinets, 1980s. It is a great nachas to see the giant he has become and how respected he is. He's a great fisherman and hockey player, and from what I hear, as stubborn with daddy as he was with the pews. He is a leader of men and a role model for Yidden of all types and stripes. And it's not just because of what happened back in Hungary in 2019, although that day the legend was certainly born. For those who don't recall, let's go to the videotape. He is one of my favorite people in the world and a role model of mine, and one half of the most inspiring and fiery couples in this town or any town. And now, for not the very first time, it's my absolute zchus to call up David and Shoshana Lawrence.
Wow, that brought back wonderful memories. DL, when your wife said to go to Hungary, she was joking. But I learned a lot from you, so thank you. I got punted to the serious part of the program, introducing Rebbe. I've had the zchus to travel the world, and really started 21 years ago. I got to drive Rebbe in the car, and I was saying over a Torah, and Rebbe just looks at me. No Torahs. Let's just be friends. I never said a Torah again. But I could tell you that we have Rebbe in our shul, and we get to enjoy him day to day, week to week. But I can't tell you how many times, whenever we travel, people always come up to Rebbe and say, I just want you to know, you don't know who I am, we've never met, but you're my Rebbe. And it never ceases to amaze me. The effect and the far-reaching effect that Rebbe and our Kehillah has knows no bounds. Jay-Z mentioned also the internet, the amount of views and where they're coming from. You can't imagine the effect we're having. And as I reflect often on Yitzhak Mordechai, let's be friends, I think about, I have Baruch Hashem, and we all have Baruch Hashem plenty of friends. But Ashreinu, that we only have one Rebbe. Rebbe, please share words at the Kehillah.
I was having such a good time until now. First of all, Yitzhak Mordechai, what they mostly come to ask me is, where did you get the fries and the onion rings? So I tell them that the big guy with the beard over here got them for me. Not for Torah, not for this, not for that, to be friends who learn Torah together. And that's really what the shul is about. When it comes to a dinner, a shul dinner, everybody knows that the chitzonius of the dinner is to try to support the Beis Medrash, to support the Kehillah. Of course, to honor, to show our appreciation and our love for those who have built and are building our Kehillah. I have to mention, as I always do, our dear friend, Reb Nahum Gordon, Zichron Levracha, who was there at the Breishis of Aish Kodesh. His yard site is coming up soon, and I think of him often. And a dinner is a time to reflect, to remember, to honor, and to raise money. But I was thinking about something. We have shiurim in the shul before Yontiv, the Pnimius of Rosh Shoshana, Pnimius of Yom Kippur. So I was thinking about the Pnimius of a shul dinner, of our shul dinner. Especially in Tafshin Pei Dalet, especially in a war that hasn't finished. There was something very, very strange towards the end of the parsha. It's one of those psukim that we didn't really talk about in yeshiva. And Rashi on that pasuk even less. But everybody here knows that the kiyar of water from which the Kahanim would be Mekadesh, the Yadayim, Raglayim, they would prepare themselves to enter into the Avodah. Everybody knows the story of the Mares Hatzovos, that the women brought their offering, polished copper mirrors, to Moshe Rabbeinu to be used for this Kli in the Beis HaMikdash. Not just the Kli, but the Kedusha of a Kohen entering into the Beis HaMikdash. Is davke from this Kli, from these mirrors that the women used in Mitzrayim. That the women used as a way of making themselves up. And Moshe Rabbeinu was very uncomfortable with this. And Rashi uses a stronger word than uncomfortable. And Moshe Rabbeinu did not want to accept this offering of mirrors from the women. And Hashem Yisbarach told Moshe Rabbeinu, Kabel, accept this gift of the women. Ke'elu chavivan alai, minakol, because these are dearest to me, Hashem said. These are more dear to me than anything else in this place. And Rashi goes on to explain. It says what Hashem said. The Akash Baruch Hu said that in Mitzrayim, the men were out working, were slaves all day long, and they were broken physically, emotionally, spiritually. They didn't have the strength to continue. They didn't know how the promise from long ago was going to be kept. They didn't see any future. And Rashi brings down from Chazal that when the men would come back, the women would go to greet them, even before they came back, would go to greet them and would take these mirrors And they would hold the mirror in front of the two of them. That somehow through that, the chiyas and the longing for the future would come back. And the more Jews were brought to the world until the time came for us to leave Mitzrayim. And Hashem said about these mirrors, Chavivan, Elu Chavivan Alai. These are the most dear to me. There's no greater gift than this. So listen, Chavre, when a person's going through a difficulty, when a person's in pain, when a person is frightened, so there's a feeling that that person has that even those who care for him, even those who love him, they can't possibly understand what he's going through. This is a constant refrain that I'm hearing when I speak to Jews from all different backgrounds, all different places in life, and all different things that they're going through. That nobody could understand what I'm feeling. And it's true. Because that person who's struggling, or that person who's frightened or in pain, that person is within himself, he's bifnim. And his friends and his loved ones, as wonderful as they are bachutz, they're outside. Children are always telling their parents, you don't understand me. And there's truth to that. But there's also a v'nahafeichu. There's a very, very remarkable v'nahafeichu in that world of communication or difficulty to communicate. Because although it's true that nobody can see inside of you, and nobody could feel your pain or your fear or your sadness, that's true. But on the other hand, because of what you're going through, you're not able to see yourself from the outside. Because you're so lost inside in that pain, in that fear. But then someone comes, a husband, a wife, a friend, a Rebbe. Someone comes who's able to see the entirety of who you are. Although it's true, doesn't feel to that degree the pain that you're feeling. He tries, she tries. But it's impossible to climb inside. But it's also true that because of the pain that you're feeling and the fear that you're feeling, you're no longer looking at yourself for who you really are and for what you've really accomplished and how much more there is for you to accomplish. And you can. You have in all that you've done. So Davka, somebody on the outside, is able to take you by the hand and say, I want you to take another look at your life, at who you are. Whenever you're trying to give chizuk to somebody, the secret to giving chizuk is to try to take that person that you love outside of himself, outside of herself, and to try to sort of look at a picture, or maybe to look in a mirror, and to see the way others see you. So our ancestors were very, very broken, and they lost hope. And they would come back from another day of slavery, and the wives would go to greet them with these mirrors, maros hatzoivos, because as Rashi brings down, there were armies of Jews who were born from those mirrors. Because the wife would take the husband and say, they didn't have cameras back then, they didn't have pictures. And the wife would say, look, and they would look at each other and they would look at themselves, but from the outside. It was mentioned earlier that I sometimes will share a memory of an old song from when I was growing up in the 60s. And I'm from the 50s, but I was listening to music in the 60s. And the time it was a time of innocence, a time of confidences. Long ago it must be. I have a photograph. Preserve my memories, all that's left. Those words were written by two Jewish guys, actually one Jewish guy. I think that the pneumius of a dinner is that somehow, in some way, a year passes, another year, and each one of us is running and doing and involved, and each one of us is going through difficulties and good things and not such good things, and we're in ourselves and in our worlds. And there's something that's so sweet about Aish Kodesh getting together once a year in this way to sort of lean into each other and to look in the mirror. To say 31 years, a lot of learning, a lot of davening, a lot of laughing, a lot of crying, a lot of singing, a lot of dancing. So that even though sometimes it's hard, and there are many, many parashiyas here in this room right now that I'm very familiar with, that are not easy. And it's true that as much as I and your friends try to feel that, and try to empathize and do the best we can, but at the end of the day, there's something so unique about our chevra. And there are times besides the dinner, but especially this one little night of the year, where we're able to take a look at the guests of honor, to take a look at our Gaboim, the families, Yishai and Elie, and to take a picture, a photograph, and to preserve that memory, because we're not going to be here forever. There's something very, very beautiful and special that Hashem has blessed us with, that my wife and I never forget, and we never stop wondering of how it is that we were zeicher to have such a chevra like you. Now sometimes, my wife asked me before, so what story are you going to tell? I know why she asked me, because we had a family Sheva Brachas last week, and I told the story at the end of my Torah. I told the story, and I see that my kids are looking at each other, and they got nervous because apparently I had told that story at too early a Sheva Brachas than in the family. So they're starting to get nervous, that I'm forgetting. I am, but the stories are worth repeating. And the story of Aish Kodesh is going to be repeated, I believe, for many, many years in the future. And our pictures, our photographs, are going to be shown to our children, our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren. So I told my wife I'm not going to tell the story, but I'm going to end with a tiny little poem from my favorite from poet, from Ruth Lewis, Sarah Rosenblatt. And I read it to you once a few years ago. But this is the feeling that I had just before we came here. It's called A Woman Wrote. A woman wrote of watching young children playing. One child seemed to shine, to stand out, her own. She wondered if every mother felt that way. Reading that, I was amazed. Because I'd often wondered too, often noticed how in a group of lovely children, one seems to have a certain aura, a glow, a shine. Yes, mine. What I've tried together with these years with our dear friend, with Rabbi Levin, with Rabbi Yirmi, Rabbi Yeshua, and all of us, there are many, many others who are giving shiurim or teaching, and all of us at one point or another are teaching each other and me all the time. One thing that I've tried to impart to our chevra, and I spoke a little bit about on the film that Guy made, is that we should feel a great pride be able to look around at each other. For some, many, many years have passed. For others who are relatively new. But I know the deepest way that there's no greater pride that I have than looking at my own children and grandchildren and looking at you and saying to Hashem Yisbarach, these are mine. These are mine. And I want you to feel that about each other. And I want all Jews to feel that about each other. Because when we do, not only will this war be over, not only will this war and all the suffering and all the misery be over, but there's going to be something that we never dreamt of and never imagined. And I believe with all of my heart that we're going to have our special bus. We could have Rabin entertain us on the bus. And we're going to have our own little special section. And I really do believe, and it could be that it's delusional of me, but I do believe that the Mashiach himself is going to turn around and when he sees us carrying on a little bit in the back, Moshe Rosenbaum's going to be handing out little chocolate bars. And the rest of the beautiful shtick that we have, that when Mashiach turns around and he sees the Chevra Aish Kodesh carrying on a little bit, that'll give us a wink and say, this Chevra is mine. We should be zeicher to see it soon.
I